Oh,
Woo!
I reckon I should put this back up, man.
Well, yeah. Now you finished playing the opener song, it's like, yeah.
Man, that was fun.
I'm in here like rocking to you, man.
I know, it's pretty amazing. I saw you getting your groove on. Hey, everybody, it's Bill and it's Matt. We're back here today for another episode number 5 already of Flight School. Welcome to the hangar, and we are going to get grounded in some great things so that you have the opportunity to fly high. I'm pretty excited about that. So, Bill, how you been this past week, buddy? How's it going with the smoke over there and all that other kind of horrible stuff?
It's been absolutely incredible. We feel very, very fortunate because I think last time we talked, it's been an interesting seismic year. Seismic year.
Great
I
way
want to do a recap, but there has been a shaking that's been taking place biologically, economically, sociologically. I guess what do I call the fires and ice? I don't know. That would be geographically, agriculturally,
thermonuclearly.
Yeah, it just and of course with the things that have happened, even last week, sociologically and politically in our world, this is, for me, an exciting time to live. We are living in historic times. Some would say biblical times.
Yeah.
I had a friend, they're looking at the list of all the different things that have happened in 2020, and they're going down the list, and they're trying to think of all the great plagues of humanity, and the only thing we're missing still is a zombie apocalypse.
You've said that before.
And, I still am hanging on for that, and I
know it's horrible. I don't want to see it. I don't know. I'm not ready for it.
My concern, it's going to come in the form of a vaccine. So we'll see. We will see. Of course, I'm joking, everybody. So anybody that's watching this and going, "Oh my gosh, how sacrilegious and wrong!" Look, I'm joking. I'm joking. But in the
middle, like brains.
It's like, what? I don't know. I just had an insatiable craving for brains I've never had before. I don't know. But it's good. And I think it's really a beautiful tee up to the things we've been talking about, and where you are, for example, in walking people through this idea of moving from completely unconscious incompetence to recognize your conscious competence, to moving into the 5th gear. And that 5th gear of impact, that 5th gear of living in a way and impacting in a way that they never have done before. And so if you're cool, I would like to jump into it and give people, whether they've watched the show or not, that lead up, and then get right into it, Matt. Yeah. Great message.
That sounds great. Let's get it rocking and rolling.
So lay it out. Give me first, we've got a picture of the 4 boxes. This quick walk me through, but it takes an arrow to the 5th gear. Give me the quick executive summary and then take me to the 5th gear.
Yep, absolutely. So the 4 stages of learning, that unconscious incompetence, it's that place where you're just a plain blooming idiot. It doesn't mean that you're dumb, just means you don't get you don't get what you don't get. You don't know what you don't know. And you come into the place just like, right? You need some education, some learning. Consciously incompetent is that now you understand a bit about what's going on. You still don't know what the heck to do, right? And then consciously competent, you've been at it for a while. You're doing some work. You can make it happen. You might need some supervision, some help, but you're doing pretty good. Unconsciously competent, you're in overdrive. You're in autopilot. You're cruising down the highway, and this thing is going pretty good, right? And there's things you're doing that you just don't even recognize anymore, like breathing, for example. You don't consider how you breathe. You just do it. And that's where you're at with this work process, right? So now those 4 stages of learning leads into the tool that I've created called the 5th gear. Why? Glad you asked. Because the 5th gear, thank you very much. The 5th gear is a place where you can engage a conscious competence of your unconscious competence. Why would you want to do that? Well, I consider that your unconscious competence in life, specifically folks that are CEOs, executives, business owners, doctors, lawyers, nurses, whatever the case may be. The thing that you do, you end up having a superpower. And that superpower is that unconscious competence of what you're doing, where you just don't even think about it. So if somebody was to say, Bill, how did you just create that show? Well, I mean, we've got this guy on camera 135. We got this over here. We got these things there. So we got this, make this happen. And boom, there's the show. Pretty easy, right? No, you lost me at we have, right? So it's just, but how do you break those things down for folks? And that takes a bit of time. And sometimes we don't know how to explain that unconscious competence because it's just such a part of our nature. And the fifth gear has a way of breaking that down personally. So you can examine a few things that you're doing. You can see things that you're doing well, maybe some things that you could improve upon. But the basis of this whole tool is to share that superpower with others, right? We can give them books and courses and programs and all these kinds of things that are great, but to empower somebody with that superpower, that unconscious competence, that empowers them to do what they're called to do, that thing that they could say, man, now I really know how I can make this happen, right? So give me the programs, give me the stuff, because now I can do it this way. That's really what the fifth gear is. All right, so that's the long story short.
Well, let me ask this. The one thing is we move into this space, and this is really another example of how people grow and learn, is to what degree does learning, what percentage of this moving into this fifth gear is learning, and how much of it is action? So when I see gear, I think mobile. When I think learning, I think fueling up. Tell me about what that looks like actually in action that makes that fifth gear valuable for people.
Yeah, there's three areas inside of this tool that I'm teaching on here, and the first one is identifying, which what we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks here, about identifying what this looks like. First of all, understanding the four stages of learning, and then identifying what the fifth gear is, right? So when you identify that, that's your first stage. The second one is where we've been camped out here now, which is learning, learning that your own personal learning, right? So you can learn all these things about you, learn things about the gear. And the third place is actually teaching. I could scroll through that real fast, right? So we've got the identifying stage. You have the learning stage, which we're going to dig into a little bit more today. And then after that is called the teaching stage, right? So you've got to be able to teach. So the action in the fifth gear is the teaching, the empowerment of that unconscious competence. The fifth gear is empowering other people to do that thing that you do, right?
Okay, so just make sure I understand. So we've walked through the identification piece of it, and we know ultimately the fifth gear has power because it is action.
Right.
But there is that, and I think, and I'm not saying this is the excuse everybody has, but I know with different areas, when I moved into a new area, sometimes you're immobilized because you say, I'm not sure I know what I don't know, and I need to know. And that learning phase either can be a freeing stage, an exciting stage, or maybe it can be an obstacle. How does someone really leverage, or what are the steps to make sure that that learning stage is actually really fueling them for what they do need to operate in their conscious competence?
Yeah, so make sure I'm tracking here clearly. So when they find this place of this conscious competence, that place where they've learned something, right? They're in a task or position or whatever the case may be. The overdrive, that autopilot part, the unconscious competence. So identifying those places first, obviously that's training and understanding the job you're in, all those tasks that come on when you get a job, and then you work in it for a year, 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, career, whatever. So that stage is something that you can get an external force creates an internal impact. So then when that internal is really internal for yourself, then that's a place where it's sometimes super, super hard to communicate to other people. I had a friend, I still do, a friend of mine who is an incredible engineer and producer. And back in the day when we used to use MIDI a lot for music, MIDI, MIDI, right?
Musical instrument digital interface.
Yes, still out
Yeah.
there. Still out
Oh
there.
yeah.
But
I
things
still
have
have the
changed.
cords.
Oh man, I know I got them too. Big old long things, crazy. It's amazing how technology changes. Boy, we can talk about that forever. But anyway, this guy was and is a MIDI. I'm not saying guru, just genius. Amazing that this guy he plugs into this stuff and he is MIDI, right? That he is MIDI.
Yeah.
So then when he would do things, we'd have two identical keyboards, and I'm trying to figure out all my sequences and learning stuff out because I'm touring and doing my thing, and I need to know how it works. And he says, "Man, just you do press this button, go here, press this button, go here, and this button, this button, this button, this." Got it? And I said, "Huh? I don't know what you're talking about." And then he would get frustrated with me. He goes, "Well, I told you, you just do this and you did it." And I'm like, "But I don't understand what you're saying." But he completely got what he was doing because it's just second nature.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be frustrating to try to explain something like that to people because you're like, whatever, I'll just do it. Because if I just do it, it's faster than trying to explain it to you. Ever heard that sound before, right?
Oh,
and then you
gosh,
do it.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity to dig into that place where you don't have to say, all right, I'll do this. Is being able to put it down and explain it in a form and a fashion that other people can get it, right? Explaining that superpower. And it's not simple, but if you do take the time to work through these tasks, and what I do in this whole scenario, we have this movement called Be the Difference 2020. And the end result is that when people do engage with the fifth gear, they're creating videos that are about 2 or 3 minutes long. And these videos are all their superpowers explained, shared, given to other people. So they have these plethora of superpowers available. So to be able to communicate that is vital. But not a lot of people can just instantly do that. You just walk up to somebody and say, "Tell me X, Y, Z about it." I just do it. It's not an answer. It's not an answer at all. And it doesn't make a difference in somebody else's life. So that's really where we're at with this whole tool and getting to that place of understanding how to engage this thing called the fifth gear. So it's a process for sure. That's why we're taking some time with this. But I hope that answers that question a little bit as we get ready to move in that direction.
No, it really does. And it's kind of, to me, it's a prerequisite to lay that foundation that says, man, now I want to really learn this. I want to be able to apply this. Because otherwise that fifth gear can be a mystery.
Absolutely.
Because you get and some people don't even believe it can exist, that we can operate at that level. So go ahead, take us through. How do we get there? What are those steps then? Walk us through that.
Yeah, I will. And let me say one thing you just made a mention of that made me think of something. You said that sometimes we miss that opportunity.
Yeah.
And one of the only ways that we can continue to advance, I think that we're all always learning. We should always be in a position of learning in every state. Doesn't mean just because you're really great at something that you're the best at anything, right? I mean, maybe you are the best, but do you want to be better, right? And so there's ways to move into the next 4 blocks of things, right? The next 4 squares. And by engaging the fifth gear, that really is like that's the turbocharger, a supercharger that takes you from that unconsciously competent part to the next phase. That it might take forever to get to the next place, right? So today we're talking about learning, specifically learning the tool of the fifth gear. How do I actually make this happen? All right. So we've talked a bit about identifying. If you haven't checked that out, please go back to the previous shows. And again, if you want more information, you can hit our email address that you'll see here shortly. And we'll be happy to send it to you for sure. All right, so here we are. Here we are at learning. Oops, went too high up on the screen. Let me go back here. Sorry, guys. All right, so here we are. So at this point in your life, by digging into a conscious competence, let me do this even better. Wow.
Ooh, yeah.
That's big time. And now I got to lower it down some more. All right, here we are. Super live. There we are. All right, by digging into this conscious competence of your unconscious competence, you'll not only be able to extract your superpowers and empower others to do the same things, but you'll be engaging your fifth gear. That's right. When you engage this gear, you also place yourself in an area of learning. That's what we've been talking about. You will learn things that have been great about your unconscious competence, and also learn things that can be improved upon, things that you may have been learning or leaning towards, or could be complacency. It could be conflict. there's different things that happen when you start really examining this unconscious competence in your life. All right. And one way to really engage that, a great way to engage that fifth gear from this point on, is to use the 8 cognitive skills. All right. So I lay out what they are. Let me zoom down to the bottom of the page here, and you will see. Well, that's probably too big, huh?
No, well, go ahead. You can zoom through them. I like them big.
Yeah, that's big stuff right there. Let me see if I can see it back on the screen there. All right, so there's the cognitive skills. Oh, I need to blow it back up some more. I have to go back and forth from screens, y'all, so I'm sorry.
That's cool.
Right, so I'm coming back to us now. All right, so the 8 cognitive tools, and you're not going to be able to see them all right here, but just for example, they go from left to right in the circle. So this tool is available for you to look at quickly, and again, you can get that on the document that we have.
Well, you know what would help me, as a student of your work. Do we have time today, or will it be something like next week? We're going to like really dive into the 8 cognitive skills, or can we do a little teaser and say, walk through 1 through 3? What makes sense?
Yeah, these 8 cognitive skills are they're pretty meaty, pretty beefy. So there's a lot there. Yeah, we'll definitely have to break those down. And one of the things that I did in the document here, and we've got the 8 things here. We'll come back to that in a second. But I did share 3 ways, because sometimes folks are like, boy, that's a lot of stuff, Matt. It is. But let me break it down even easier. You'll see, hopefully on the screen, make sure that you see that, Bill. Yeah, there it is. All right. So 3 ways you can dig into these 8 cognitive skills that we're coming back to in a second is identifying your current patterns. That's your memory skills. They can be boosted through combining your logic and reasoning skills to recognize current patterns and so on and so forth. Then engage your 5th gear, actually doing it. And then thirdly is give it all you got, which is kind of zeroing in, teaching, giving it to other people, right? So those are 3 ways to kind of break these areas down. But what I found, the easiest way to help unpack, this is what we're really doing, is unpacking our unconscious competence. We're on the outside looking in. It's a place of conscious competency, looking outside into this unconscious competency. And then we are going to unpack that, because sometimes, like I said, you just don't like, well, how do I do? I just press this button, do this. Da, 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 da. How do you explain that? All right. Well, then let's break that down a bit, because when you've been doing it for a while, you're in autopilot. You don't think about certain things anymore. It's just second nature. You get in a car. When I take my kids to school, I don't think, well, I've got to go down to Camden Road. I got to take a right on Cumberland. I've got to go take a left on. I don't think about the names. I just drive there. I'm used to going right. Autopilot. You just go. So that's what happens when you're in this unconscious competency. Yeah. Right? But here's the 8 things that we won't go all through, obviously, today. But to take a look at them, the first one, let me bring it back down here on the screen a bit, is sustained attention. So the first place in this 8 cognitive skills to examine in your own life is sustained attention. That's the ability to look at, to listen to, and think about your task or new tasks over a period of time. So I could read through all the 8 of these right now, or we can kind of take them in chunks. Bill, how would you like to do it?
Well, I think, like you said, these are deep dive things. And if you wouldn't mind, I would like to see if we could talk about those top 2 this week, and then we can dive into the other ones going forward, because I think those 2 right off the bat, I think are foundational. So I'd love to hear you have the freedom to take a few minutes to just walk into this whole idea of sustained attention and response inhibition.
Yeah, I will, especially since we're running close on the end of our time here today. So we'll hit these up a little bit, and we may have to spend time on these for the next couple of weeks, which is great, because this is a great way to learn and unpack these things for ourselves individually. Yeah. All right. So the first one, sustained attention. Again, this is a place where it's that place where obviously sustained attention, right? So this prolonged, this existing, this place of attention, this place you want to look at is the basic ability, talking about basics now, to look at and listen to and think about your tasks or new tasks over a period of time. What does your sustained attention look like? So, Bill, what is, the question then you're looking at yourself is that, what is my sustained attention? What does that look like for me when I'm dealing with tasks or like new tasks or tasks over a period of time? How do I work in my sustained attention with that? So the example would be like, are you a squirrel like me, kind of, and you kind of have a million things going on at one time, and somebody says, hey, but there's this thing, and you're like, oh man, it's a great idea, and you go that way too, but you still have other things to do, right? Multitasking.
Right.
So when it comes down to that sustained attention part, this is how you say, what is my basic ability to look at these things? How do I listen to these things? How do I think about tasks? And how do I think about them, tasks over a period of time? What's it look like for me? So just for a second, we'll talk about that.
Well, it's an excellent question, because I've learned over the years, and it seems like there's author and researcher after researcher that says basically we don't multitask, that we flip switches and we leave things and then come back. And sometimes it can happen in microseconds, but every time you spend switching gears, if you will, using this analogy, you really are not multitasking. You're stopping and starting, stopping and starting, stopping and starting. And in my case, one of the things that I have learned, because I adore squirrels and I want to see them, and my mind goes all the time. And for me to be able to be that sustained attention, the team knows that, for example, when I am playing the role as a creative director of our agency, it means I need to block out other stuff. And I say, in this window, I am dedicating time for this. So I never have tasks, ever. I have no tasks. I only have appointments. It's because I recognize that the physics attached to completing that task and the physics associated to dedicating time and attention to focus on the completion of that task, whether it be cognitive or physical or spiritual, whatever that is, I need to block out and set aside and honor. Otherwise, I will be playing games going tick, 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 under the illusion that I'm actually getting things done. And if I really want to get deep, meaty things accomplished, I recognize I have to be deep and meaty in my thought and my process. So
this
that
is so good. You are unpacking unconscious competence right now. Yours.
Well, it's not unconscious. It was. I'll tell you what.
But you're a conscious competence. But I'm talking about, this is part of your superpower. So I mean that. This what I'm saying is that you have decided that instead of tasks, it's appointments, right? So this is a great thought process that people could learn. So for you to say tasks, I've got a million things, so that means you've got a million things you're probably not going to get done. But the appointment, which you set, and the key word you said in that, which was fantastic, is honor. So that if you had an hour or 2 hours, 5 hours dedicated to a certain appointment, then you're going to honor that appointment and that people or persons by being present for that specific thing. And then everything else doesn't exist at that moment, right? It's just that appointment for that reason.
Right. And from that point, when I step into that zone, I am now both focused, but also vigilant to the distractions that may want to pull me out of that zone. Because there's 1,000 things that want to pull us out. Just the way our minds work. The fact that we have connected thinking. I can think, oh, I'm going to spend some time with Matt, which reminds me, I need to work on my microphone, which reminds me I needed to go talk to Tim about some sound problems, which reminded me that a friend of mine is closing down his business and he wanted me to come check out his warehouse, which reminded me that I needed to make sure I clear out the car because I think I'm going to put some new speakers in the car, which reminded me, my gosh, did I get gas the other day? Which reminded me. Yeah,
absolutely.
And it happens in nanoseconds to go, and all of a sudden you're down a rabbit trail. Next thing you know, you knew that the old what was that joke is it's easy to forget when you're up to your neck in alligators that your original intention was to drain the swamp.
Yeah.
And so that thinking definitely is necessary for me to go deep and accomplish deep things. And that word honor, I have found tragically that if I'm doing it for me, I'm probably less. I can let it go. It's like, why do people struggle with exercise or diet or things like that? Well, who is that really for? That's for you. But if I make a commitment to a client or a team member or something bigger than myself, it demands that I honor it. It
Yeah.
demands that I honor it. And it makes me able to focus at a deeper level with a sense of what I need to accomplish. And it makes me vigilant to say, I'm going to protect that. Because if I don't protect that, I'm dishonoring the commitment I made to fulfill this and to accomplish this. And so that keeps me, my crazy squirrel mind, in a better gear.
Yeah, that is fantastic information today for sure, and something I'm positive that people will enjoy hearing today. And this just comes from us hitting the first thing here with sustained attention. And what a bonus to hear that from you today. As we've been digging into the fifth gear, we've been talking about how we can get into the 4 stages of learning, but moving past the 4 stages of learning, we engage this thing called the fifth gear, which is that conscious competence of our unconscious competence. And Bill shared today, as we're digging into the learning side of what this tool looks like. And now we're digging into the 8 cognitive skills, what sustained attention might look like in somebody's life or business or family or whatever. I mean, there's so many different ways that we could examine how to incorporate sustained attention and pay attention to sustained attention in our lives. That makes all the difference in everything else we're getting ready to go into, which is exciting because we've got we just hit the surface on the first one. We got 7 more to go. We got a lot to go. It'll be fun.
The second one, just the T. What's the next one we're going to hit next week?
Yeah, absolutely. So the second one, let me come back down the screen here so y'all can see, is going to be response inhibition.
Yeah, which I kind of talked a tiny bit about. That is, I'll tell you, Matt, when you talk about that next week, that for some people may be the breakthrough that could change their life.
Absolutely.
To be able to look at that distraction and to inhibit those that allow you to focus on the things that matter. My gosh.
To identify what those distractions may be. Sometimes we don't even realize the distractions that we have. Like maybe you get too many notifications on your phone. Maybe you get too many phone calls and you feel guilty if you don't answer, don't look, whatever. And you have to learn what some of these boundaries are for your own life so that you can be more productive in everything, right? So, it's a great opportunity to do some shifting in mindset and gears. And next week we're going to dig in.
I can hardly wait till next week, man.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good. You gave such a fantastic example, folks. If you get a chance to go back and listen to that again, what Bill just shared, such a great idea from tasks to appointments. Doesn't mean that he ignores tasks. It's just a different mental way, mindset way of accomplishing those tasks, give it a different name, different purpose, and it becomes something way more important to you and other people when you do that. So great example, Bill. Thanks so much for that.
Oh, thank you. Well, I can hardly wait till next week, Matt.
I know it feels like here we are supposed to be. We're in the hangar here at flight school. We're getting our training. Everybody's got their notebooks out, and we're getting ready to get in that plane so we can fly high. But I'm already flying high right now. I'm soaring right now.
I've got my coffee. I'm just looking for those little biscotti things that they have on Delta. Delta is one of my favorite airlines, and they have those. I'm thinking, it's about time to hop in. And let's kick off this week. Bang.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Guys, until we see you the next time, it's so glad to have you here with us again today. This is episode 5 now. So we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, of course. Here's our home base, YouTube. And now it's podcasted out. So we're out on all the podcast sites as well. So you get plenty of places to engage with Flight School. And you can catch us here we're here Fridays.
Every Friday.
10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific. That's U.S. time. And everybody else, you have to Google it. I'm sorry. I'll just give you 2. That's all I can handle right now. So
yeah.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you the next time, everybody. Thanks for coming to Flight School.
Thanks for coming. Bye.
Each week, Bill and I bring you episodes to help you get and stay grounded in your business and your life, with lessons that help you fly higher heights and know exactly what your flight plan is. Join us each week on Fridays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern and 7:30 a.m. Pacific Time. Welcome to Flight School.